So guys, we're back on the onesie talking about One Piece episode 762, I think. This episode was quite interesting because many of the other episodes before this have been little story progression and a lot of emotion. I felt like this episode had a lot of story progression and little emotion. I really enjoyed this episode for a lot of different reasons that I've enjoyed the others. I think that this episode was really funny. I found that Peckham's especially really saved the episodes when it was kind of slow. Except for like, there was that one scene where he was going through the capital, and then there was that one scene where he was like roaring, and it just like, it was a still shot at him just standing like, for like, way too long. I thought that was really awkward, but other than that I just really liked him because he made all of the serious moments so funny with how he was crying all the time and being mad at the Straw Hats and then not being mad at the Straw Hats. I found when we had that exchange between Sanji Brook and then Capone and Peckham's, and you just have Sanji being all serious, like if you want to do something, then please don't do it on this island because the Minks have been through so much, and you just have that serious music. And then Peckham's just gonna choose him, and Sanji's just like, yes, sure. I thought that was so funny. And just in general, of Peckham's just being so mad at the Straw Hats and then finding out that the Straw Hats saved the entire kingdom, and it just being, the Straw Hats are so nice, I can't hurt them anymore. Another thing I found really good about this episode, which I kept like noticing, was that every time we had Peckham's just crying and being a mess, we always had Capone and Peckham being just like lighting his cigarette, putting on his sunglasses and taking off his sunglasses and just being like, oh my god, this dude. I really like that because it just really showed that like Peckham's is just a much more emotional being, and then you have Capone just being like, the mission first. I really like that. I also really like that we had, again, like, this time it wasn't really a montage, but we had, like, every Straw Hat was doing their thing. So we had Sanji cooking for the Minks, we had Chopper giving shots to people and just curing them or whatever, helping them recover, and Brook trying to be helpful, but being a skeleton, he's just really bad at that. And then Nami bonding with Wanda. I thought all of that was really great. I was a little disappointed in how they kept going back and forth between how they drew Nami, because there were shots where she looked really great and there were shots where she didn't look so great, which we all know that when Nami isn't drawn really great I get really sad. But overall I really liked her. Especially the, I'm gonna call it the balcony scene, where we have Sanji, Nami, Caesar, Brook, and Chopper kind of discussing what to do about the situation because they know they are no friend of Big Mom. And we just have them like observing and Sanji really thinking, and then Caesar just being a mess because he knows that Big Mom is after him. I thought that was really great. I thought it was really fun because it was like a serious tone, but you still have that like, that humorous touch so that you don't think it's gonna be all that awful. And then of course the episode just ends with Capone just mercilessly shooting Peckham's. And I thought that scene was weirdly brutal because he just kept shooting him for like 5 or 6 seconds. Because I imagined when I read the manga it was just like, done, right? But this was just like, I'm not gonna say dragged on, but it just, he kept shooting him. And I remember I was just like, what? Like, oh my god, it was brutal. It was so brutal, and like it wasn't all that surprising because of course if you read the manga it's not that surprising, and you could kind of see throughout the entire episode that Capone was really not agreeing with what Peckham's was doing. But it was just, I found that last scene so brutal. I was so shocked by how that was handled in like a good way. I really liked the music that they used when again when the Straw Hats were like helping them. That was really like, I just really like that kind of, the soundtrack they've made for So, like the specific So soundtracks they've made, I really enjoy them because it's such an uplifting atmosphere that's created when this music plays, and I get really happy, and then I get sad thinking about what's about to come. Because it's like so misleading that this music is just like, yeah, everything is good and happy and rainbows and unicorns, and it's just not. Because we're still like, for anime only, we're still like uncovering the why the fuck is Sanji not there, like Sanji isn't there, Caesar isn't there, it probably has something to do with Capone, and especially when we see the preview. But it's just like everything just, they came to this island, saved it from a disaster, and then another fucking disaster just occurs because oh fuck shit. Oh my god, I really like how this episode sets up the next one, because I think this episode in itself, like it's able to stand on its own, but I think watching this episode and then watching the next episode just like directly after it, it's gonna be so impactful, because you really go from that really light and happy tone, even though we kind of, because it's a story being told and we know that Sanji isn't there and there's a problem, and Nami in the beginning of the episode is like, you know what, Sanji says he'll return his letter, but it's really a lot worse than that, and you have Brook being like, I don't think Sanji will come back to us, but you go into a flashback and starts off really happy and light, and in the next episode everything just turns to shit. So yeah, if you haven't seen this episode, I'd recommend waiting till next week, and just because I really think that watching these two episodes in like one thing would be, yeah, I think that'd be really great. I might have to do that at some point. I kind of want to talk a little bit about the scene, like the first scene we have, I think it is, where all the Straw Hats are going to Nekomamushi. By the way, I'm very disappointed we didn't get the Nekomamushi song, the Cat Viper song, whatever. But we have Nami and Brook basically telling the story of how it is that Sanji isn't there. And it's really interesting because I know in the next episode, or the episode after that, where they're gonna start discussing what to do with Sanji's situation. And already in this episode we have like 3 voices. We have Luffy, who's like, wait, what do you mean Sanji's not coming back? He said in his letter he's coming back. I trust in Sanji, I believe in his strength. And you have Nami being like, no, it's a lot worse than it seems. And then you have Zoro kind of not caring. And I mean, he doesn't mean it when he says that, ugh, I don't care about the curly brows, like, ugh, I don't care about him. Like, we all know that's not really true, but he's still more laid back than he should be, or that the 2 others. And there's also just the pressing matter of, well, we've also pissed off Kaido, and they've just pissed off so many people at this point that it's getting ridiculous how many enemies they have, and then just the Sanji thing, because it's easy enough to go save Sanji if that's what's needed, but they also need to take into account that, well, Kaido's kind of not really happy with us, and we do have this alliance with Law, and he'd probably be really mad if we just kind of ignored that and want to save Sanji or whatever. So I think that it's really interesting how they're setting everything up. Just because I remember in the manga it was so interesting, because we were all like, oh my god, what's going on with Sanji, what the hell, and there were so many funny discussions, and it was kind of like the fandom took on the voices of the Straw Hats, because really in the next couple of episodes we'll see like each Straw Hat has their own opinion on this matter, and it's kind of ridiculous how many different opinions Oda just decided to force into these characters, not force, but like it makes sense, each and every one of their opinions, and it does stand out because Luffy, Nami, and Zoro have the strongest opinions on this, for a ton of reasons, because Zoro has this thing with Sanji, Luffy being the captain, care about everyone, and Nami having been a person who actually was there when everything happened and knows the truth and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that this episode just really set up a lot of things. Like, if you're anime only, I could imagine that this episode would have just killed you, because it just sets up so many things and it gives no answers. Like, we just know that Capone and Peckhams are somehow involved. I don't think I have much else to say about this episode. It was really simple, and yeah, I mean, it was simple and not much happened. I'm actually a bit disappointed in the fact that nothing happened, because we had a lot of time just going around with Peckhams, Capone, exploring the city, and they did have the title card at just a little bit after 5 minutes, so I would have expected a little more. And because of that, I mean, I think they would have benefited from having the title card at maybe 6 minutes, and then just cutting the scenes with Peckhams and Capone a little shorter, because I think that would have made a more emotional impact on the fact that that Peckhams just arrived at his home city and everything was just destroyed, and he was really angry because he thought the Straw Hats had done it. Yeah, and also on top of that we had a bunch of flashbacks. Not that it really matters, because the Big Mom Luffy flashback was kind of needed, especially if you're like a regular viewer in Japan. I imagine that, oh yeah, we need to be reminded that 5 years ago Luffy declared war against him, because it's been quite a long time since the end of Fishman Island. So yeah. Overall, it was an enjoyable episode. Could have done some things better, but definitely wasn't boring. And I'm just really looking forward to the next episode because that's where things really take off. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna round off my video here, so you can leave a thumbs up on the video if you like anything that I had to say. Leave in the comments below what you thought of this episode, and you can subscribe if you want to see more of me. YouTube reviews of One Piece, Shokugeki no Soma, Haikyuu, Boku no Hero Academia, and I do videos more in style with this of Haikyuu the anime. So if you're into those, you can subscribe, and until next time, bye!